So, welcome everyone for today's session on cerebral dura mater. The word dura comes from the word durable. So it is outermost, thickest, and the toughest membrane of the brain, and that's why it is called as dura mater. Now, dura mater, the dura mater of the cerebrum, it is divided into two layers. The outer layer, which is endosteal layer, which is outer, and inner layer, which is meningeal layer. Outer endosteal and inner meningeal. What is endosteal layer? Now, suppose this is one bone, suppose parietal bone, this is other parietal bone, and this is the suture. Suture is very close to each other, but here what I have done is I have just kept it closer. So this is the pericranium. This is pericranium. Through the suture, it continues down here as endocranium. Okay, as endocranium. And this endocranium is nothing but this first layer, which is the endosteal layer. This is the endosteal layer. Okay, so endosteal layer is this. Now, what happens is the meningeal layer is below the endosteal, and this meningeal layer is thrown into folds. Is thrown into folds. So this, suppose this is one parietal bone, this is one parietal bone, and this is the sagittal sulcus. So this is the endosteal layer, and this is meningeal. So it is thrown into fold. So this midline fold is, this you must be knowing, is called as the falx cerebri. It exactly lies between the two. It separates the two cerebral hemispheres. So this is one cerebral hemisphere. This is the left side cerebral hemisphere, and this is the right side cerebral hemisphere. The cerebral hemisphere is covered by pia mater, and then pia is covered by dura mater. Sorry, is covered by arachnoid matter. Okay, so this is pia matter, this is arachnoid matter, and this is cerebrum. So this is the subarachnoid space. Okay, subarachnoid space. So this is dura matter, this is arachnoid matter, this is pia matter, this is cerebrum. In this subarachnoid space is CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Now, how this cerebrospinal fluid is drained? This cerebrospinal fluid, this arachnoid matter goes into this venous sinuses. So dura mater, as it goes towards its attachment to the skull, the fold splits. The fold splits like this to enclose what is called as dural venous sinuses. So most of the dural venous sinuses are lined on one side by endosteal layer and other side by meningeal layer. So this red thing is endosteal layer and the green thing is meningeal layer. So meningeal layer is thrown into folds. So this what you are seeing is a coronal section. What I have drawn for you is a coronal section. In this coronal section, I have drawn two parietal bones. This is pericranium. So this is outside. Through the suture, it is continuous with the endocranium or the endosteal. So now the dura mater, the dura mater it is attached inside or to the skull, and it is continuous with the pericranium outside. Okay. It is attached. It is attached to the inner side of the cranial bone. It is attached to the inner side of the cranial bone. This endosteal layer will also give a sheet for the optic nerve. It is continuous with the sclera. So these some of the things you should know about the endosteal layer. So endosteal layer is very firmly attached on the inner side. It is attached on the inner side of the skull bone. Okay. And it is continuous with the pericranium outside the skull through the surface. So the two layers are endosteal layer and meningeal layer. This meningeal layer is green colored. I have just shown. It is not green colored. I have shown it in green color, and it is thrown into folds. So it is like packaging. Nowadays, you must be receiving lot of packages from this online shopping. So whenever it comes, suppose there is a breakable material, so they put lot of packaging. So we have two cerebral hemispheres. So these two cerebral hemispheres, they are packed. Below there is tentorium. Okay, below there is tentorium cerebrum. Okay, and in between there is falx cerebri. So now because in between the two cerebral hemisphere is falx cerebri, so the cerebrum doesn't move. This meningeal layer, when it goes for its attachment, on the skull bone, it splits to enclose dural venous sinuses. So that is what drains the brain, dural venous sinus. And passing into the dural venous sinuses, so I said this is dura mater, this is arachnoid mater, this is pia mater, and this is the brain. So between pia and arachnoid is subarachnoid fluid. In the subarachnoid space is the cerebrospinal fluid. And this fluid has to be drained. So what is the mechanism? There are arachnoid granulations. Okay, arachnoid villi which open into. So there will be continuously they are opening. So cerebrospinal fluid gets drained through the dural venous sinuses. So what I have drawn here is the falx cerebrum. Now, if this is a coronal section, what you are seeing in the coronal section. Now let us see how things look in a sagittal section. In a sagittal section, this is the brain, this is the skull, sorry, I'll draw it here. This is the skull. So the falx cerebri will be coming down like this from the central portion. And then lower down here, running horizontally on both the sides is tentorium. Tentorium. Okay, it goes to the left side and the right side, and falx cerebri ends on the tentorium. And below the tentorium is falx cerebelli. So I'm drawing it in a dotted line. Below the tentorium is falx cerebelli. So this falx cerebelli, like the falx cerebri separate the two cerebral hemispheres. The falx cerebelli will separate. It is below the tentorium. Tentorium will be horizontal like this. So in short, tentorium is like this, and on the tentorium is falx cerebri like this. This tentorium separates, or above the tentorium is cerebrum, below the tentorium is cerebellum. Above the tentorium is cerebrum, and below the tentorium is cerebellum. Okay. So the tentorium will be running like this. Okay. It will be running like this in the sagittal section. And the falx will be running like this and ending on the tentorium. And below the tentorium is falx cerebelli. is falx cerebelli. So this is falx cerebelli, this is falx cerebri, this is tentorium. Okay, so tentorium is running horizontally. Falx cerebri is above the tentorium, falx cerebelli is below the tentorium. So even the tentorium, so again one more coronal section, this is the falx cerebri, then this is the tentorium, and even the tentorium, when it goes for its attachment, it also splits like this. So enclose a sinus called as transverse sinus. And this is the superior sagittal sinus. There are four folds of dura mater. Falx cerebri, this is falx, and below here is falx cerebelli, falx cerebelli, this is falx cerebri. Okay, this is tentorium horizontally running, and one very short which is there in the sella turcica, where suppose this is the sella turcica anterior clinoid process, and then there is posterior clinoid process, right? And then there is the petrous part of the temporal bone. So the tentorium is attached to the petrous part of the temporal bone like this, and its attached margin is here. Its pre-margin goes like this for the attach, not like this, because there is a tentorial notch through which the brainstem goes down. And here, covering this sella turcica is diaphragma sellae. And this, there is a hole in between for the pituitary to go down. So this looks like a diaphragm. So this is the topmost diaphragm at the topmost location in our body. Diaphragma sellae. So we studied there are four folds of the meningeal layer of the dura mater: superior sagittal, the falx cerebri, then tentorium cerebelli, falx cerebelli, and diaphragma cell. Okay. The tentorium is attached to the petrous part of temporal bones to the posterior clinoid process, and its pre-margin goes like this and gets attached to the anterior clinoid process. And this here is a notch called as tentorial notch, through which the brainstem goes down. Okay, this is the pre-margin of the tentorium. Now, going to the blood supply and the nerve supply of this. Now, blood supply and nerve supply, you may feel why I'm talking about it, but very, very important. Lots and lots of MCQs have been asked. So you need to know the blood supply. The blood supply, firstly, let's talk about the cerebral dura mater blood supply of the vault. Okay, blood supply of the vault of the skull is by middle meningeal artery. By the middle meningeal artery. So we always describe it of the vault, then anterior cranial fossa, then middle cranial fossa, what are the arteries, and posterior cranial fossa. So anterior cranial fossa, it is again supplied by the branches of middle meningeal artery. In the middle cranial fossa also, of course, in the anterior cranial fossa, it will be mainly not by the middle meningeal artery. I'm really sorry. The middle cranial fossa, it will be middle meningeal artery again, an accessory meningeal artery. An accessory meningeal artery. In the anterior cranial fossa, it will be the branches of ophthalmic artery. Okay, so like anterior ethmoidal, these are all branches of ophthalmic. Posterior ethmoidal, In the middle cranial fossa, it will be the middle meningeal artery, accessory middle meningeal artery, okay, internal carotid artery. So these are the branches in the middle cranial fossa. So which branches will be there in the posterior cranial fossa, supplying the dura mater there? The posterior cranial fossa will be supplied by branches of vertebral artery, the meningeal branches of vertebral artery. Last time I told you there are 5 branches of vertebral artery. So vertebral artery, occipital artery, okay. So branches will. Now nerve supply again equally important. So blood supply again I will revise. The vault is by middle meningeal and middle cranial fossa is by middle meningeal, accessory middle meningeal, internal carotid. Anterior cranial fossa is by anterior ethmoidal, posterior ethmoidal, ophthalmic. And posterior cranial fossa is by meningeal branches of vertebral. So vertebral is here, internal carotid is here, and on the anterior cranial fossa, it is mainly the ophthalmic. But you cannot just write ophthalmic. You have to write anterior ethmoidal, posterior ethmoidal also. Okay. Now anterior ethmoidal and the posterior. Some anterior cranial fossa is mainly supplied by branches of ophthalmic and this anterior ethmoidal and posterior ethmoidal artery. Middle cranial fossa is by middle meningeal artery, accessory middle meningeal artery, internal carotid artery. Posterior cranial fossa is by meningeal branches of vertebral artery. Then nerve supply. Again, we go by the same way describing the nerve supply. One is by the vault, nerve supply of the vault. So it is by the ophthalmic division. Ophthalmic spelling always remember OPHTH. You normally write OPT, OPHTH, ophthalmic. Then anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa, and posterior cranial fossa. Anterior cranial fossa will be supplied again by anterior ethmoidal nerve, okay, and also by maxillary. Middle cranial fossa will be by branches of mandibular. So you see the ophthalmic branch of mandibular is supplying the vault, maxillary branch is supplying the meninges in the anterior cranial fossa, mandibular is supplying the branches in the middle cranial fossa, and posterior cranial fossa is mainly by the meningeal branches of 9th, 10th cranial nerve. Apart from that, there will be uh, also branches of C1, C2, C3, the meningeal branches. Now with that background, so the questions that are asked is middle cranial fossa, you should know, mandibular, and mandibular gives a branch called as nervus spinosus, which goes through the foramen spinosum and supplies the meninges in the middle cranial fossa. N number of questions have been asked on this. Okay, so that you should be know. With that, we go to the classification of dural venous sinus, okay, and their locations. The dural venous sinuses are classified into paired sinuses, which are there two on both the sides, and unpaired, paired and unpaired. Now let us study the unpaired ones first. Okay, they are there normally in the midline because they are unpaired. They are there in the normally in the midline area. So if the skull is like this, the superior sagittal sinus is like along the upper part of the pars. Superior sagittal sinus. along the upper border of falx. Then there is falx cerebri, and along the lower border of the falx is inferior sagittal sinus. And here is tentorium. So what happens is, here is one more sinus. Here is the great cerebral vein which unites with the inferior sagittal sinus, and there is straight sinus. Straight sinus. So what is happening is inferior sagittal sinus uniting with great cerebral vein to form straight sinus. So here now we come to a point which is called as confluence of sinuses. So we have superior sagittal sinus and straight sinus coming here. Now straight sinus turns to the left as left transverse sinus. Left transverse sinus. And superior sagittal sinus turns to the right as right transverse sinus. So it has turned to the right. So I may not be able to show further details of the right transverse sinus. You have to imagine it in 3 dimensions. That means superior sagittal sinus goes here, and at the confluence turns like this. Straight sinus comes to this point. Confluence of sinuses is inside, exactly inside the external occipital protrusion. So this confluence of sinus, from here the straight sinus turns to the left and forms the left transverse sinus. Now transverse sinus is a paired one. Now we understand it is paired. And this transverse sinus, after this thing, it runs a S-shaped course, and now is called as sigmoid sinus. And it is this sigmoid sinus, it continues down as internal jugular vein. Internal jugular vein. So this will be internal jugular vein of the left side. The right transverse sinus will continue as the right sigmoid sinus. Okay, and then right sigmoid sinus will continue as right internal jugular vein. So now let us see what are the paired sinuses we can see here. We can see the transverse sinus paired, sigmoid sinus, it will be there on the opposite side also. What are the unpaired sinuses we can see here? Superior sagittal, inferior sagittal, then the straight sinus. Then below the confluence, along the attachment of falx cerebelli, will be occipital sinus. There will be occipital sinus. So they all lie in middle. So now let us list the unpaired sinuses first. Superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, then the straight sinus which is formed by the union of inferior sagittal. And now interesting fact about straight sinus and inferior sagittal sinus. Superior sagittal sinus in a coronal section will look like this. On its one end will be bone or covered by endosteal layer of the dewar. And another side there will be meningeal layer. But inferior sagittal sinus and the straight sinus, there is no bone. They don't have contact with any bone. So they will be completely enclosed. They will be completely enclosed in the meninges. Completely enclosed in the meninges. Okay. So superior sagittal, inferior sagittal, straight and occipital. They exactly lie in between occipital. And then there are two more. There are two more. If this is cavernous sinus of one side and this is a cavernous sinus of other side, they are connected to each other by anterior and posterior. Anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. Anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. So that will be 5 and 6. And 7 number will be basilar plexus of veins. This basilar plexus of vein will be located uh, just in front of the brainstem. Basilar. So there are 7 unpaired sinuses: superior sagittal, inferior sagittal, straight, occipital. They exactly lie in the midline. Anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus and basilar plexus. Most of the paired sinuses, they will be located at the periphery. The paired sinuses will be located at the periphery. One paired sinus you can see here already on both the sides of the sella turcica. So here is sella turcica, and on both the side of sella turcica is cavernous sinus. So the paired sinuses are one cavernous sinus, two superior petrosal sinus. Now where is superior petrosal sinus? We said the attachment of the tentorium cerebelli is on the petrous temporal bone. So we have seen there are these two petrous temporal bones, right? Like this. And then there is this posterior clinoid processes over here, and then anterior clinoid processes will be here. Here is sella turcica. So running along the superior border of this upper part of the along this attachment where the tentorium cerebelli is getting attached to the petrous temporal bone, will be superior petrosal sinus. This will be the location of superior petrosal sinus. And here, lower down, will be location of inferior petrosal sinus. Now, what is there here? On both sides, there are two cavernous sinus. Both sides, there are two cavernous sinus. So what is happening is here and here is the transverse sinus. And this transverse sinus go lower down, turns into sigmoid sinus. Okay. So basically, transverse sinus has come here like this. Transverse sinus has come from both the sides. There will be transverse sinus. And this transverse sinuses will turn like this and become sigmoid. That means the superior petrosal sinus, which lies along the border of the petrous temporal bone, which is forming the boundary of the posterior cranial fossa. It connects the cavernous sinus with transverse sinus, and inferior petrosal sinus connects it with the internal jugular vein, because the sigmoid sinus will become internal jugular vein and go out through the jugular foramen. So look here now. This is inferior petrosal sinus. going into the jugular vein. This is the jugular foramen. So you must have studied the structures passing through the jugular foramen. And there you must have said most anterior structure is inferior petrosal sinus. And most posterior structure is internal jugular vein, and three cranial nerves pass through the jugular foramen. So I'll draw a separate diagram for this. Suppose this is the jugular foramen. The sigmoids, the, suppose this is the jugular foramen. The sigmoid sinus, which is going to become internal jugular vein, now passes through it like this. Inferior petrosal sinus, which is coming from the cavernous sinus, it also passes through the jugular foramen, and just lower down it unites and drains into the internal jugular. In between cranial nerve number 9, 10, and 11. Structures passing through jugular foramen. Anterior most structure is inferior petrosal sinus. Posterior most is internal jugular vein, and 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerve lie in between. So when you are taught norma basalis and interior of skull and posterior cranial fossa, they must have insisted on this. What are the questions that are asked on this? The first tributary of internal jugular vein is inferior petrosal sinus. It is inferior petrosal sinus. What is inferior petrosal sinus doing? It is connecting the cavernous sinus with the internal jugular vein. It passes through the jugular foramen, and just after passing through it, just below the jugular foramen, it drains into the internal jugular. What is superior petrosal sinus doing? Superior petrosal sinus is connecting, draining the cavernous sinus, into the transverse sinus. The superior petrosal draining cavernous sinus into transverse sinus, and inferior petrosal sinus draining the cavernous sinus into the internal jugular vein. So we were listing the unpaired sinus. Sorry, we are listing the paired sinus. So the first one we said cavernous sinus, which is there on both the sides. The second one we said superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, then transverse sinus. Transverse sinus becomes sigmoid, and sigmoid continues as internal jugular. So what are these transverse sinuses? The superior sagittal sinus comes to the confluence, turns to the right, becomes right transverse. Straight sinus turns to the left, becomes left transverse. Both the transverse then form sigmoid. What is superior petrosal? Drains cavernous sinus into transverse. What is inferior petrosal? Drains the cavernous sinus into internal jugular vein. Now there are two more sinuses on each side, and that is sphenoparietal sinus. The sphenoparietal sinus. So this now 6, 7, and 8, they are very small. Okay, very small. The petrosquamous sinus, and then there is middle, more of a middle meningeal vein, but also called as middle meningeal sinus. Okay, so these are the various sinuses, dural venous sinuses which are present. Okay, I'll just quickly revise through what we studied today. Today we started with cerebral dura mater and we say it has outer endosteal and inner meningeal layer. The endosteal layer is continuous through the suture with the pericranium. Meningeal layer is thrown into folds, mainly four folds. This meningeal layer, as it comes to the attachment of the bone, it splits to enclose a dural venous sinus which doesn't have walls. The subarachnoid space also opens into the dural venous sinuses but doesn't open directly but through arachnoid villi. This villi eventually over the years form granulations. So CSF is also drained in this dural venous sinuses. The venous drainage of the brain is also through this dural venous sinuses. So this is falx cerebri lying in between. Then the falx cerebri ends on tentorium cerebri, which is lying horizontal. And then there is falx cerebelli below. Along the upper border of the falx cerebri is superior sagittal sinus. Along the lower border is inferior sagittal sinus. At the junction of falx and tentorium is straight sinus. In this diagram, things become clear. Okay. So this is superior sagittal sinus. This is transverse sinus. So tentorium again, as it goes and gets attached laterally on both the sides, there is transverse sinus. Okay. Along the inferior border here will be the inferior sagittal sinus, and at their junction, the inferior sagittal sinus will become straight sinus. So I cannot show it in this diagram. Then there is the fourth fold, diaphragma cellae. So falx cerebri, falx cerebelli, tentorium cerebelli, and diaphragma cellae. Diaphragma cellae covers the sella turcica, and there is a hole in it for the stalk of the pituitary to go down. Then we discussed the blood supply. We said blood supply of the vault is by middle meningeal artery, by the anterior cranial fossa is by the ophthalmic artery, and anterior ethmoidal, posterior ethmoidal. Of the middle cranial fossa, it is the meningeal branches of internal carotid, middle meningeal artery, and accessory middle meningeal artery. In the posterior cranial fossa, it is the meningeal branches of vertebral artery, okay, of meningeal branches of occipital artery. The nerve supply of the vault is by the ophthalmic nerve. Of the anterior cranial fossa is by the anterior ethmoidal nerve, okay, and the maxillary. The middle cranial fossa is by the nervus spinosus of the mandible, and we said this information, the nervus spinosus, which enters through foramen spinosum. Okay, so in short, mandibular nerve comes out through foramen ovale. By now, you must have by hearted the male structures, mandibular nerve, okay, and the other four structures, which lesser petrosal nerve and emissary. So these the mandibular nerve will pass through the foramen ovale. And below behind the foramen ovale is foramen spinosum, through which the nervus spinosus enters. Through which the nervus spinosus enters. Very important. It is a meningeal branch given and supplying the meninges in the middle cranial fossa. Lots of questions asked on this. Posterior cranial fossa is by the meningeal branches of the 9th and 10th cranial nerve and C1, C2. Then we started getting oriented towards the dural venous sinuses, and we said they are paired and unpaired. The unpaired ones normally lie in the center. This is the sagittal section. So superior sagittal sinus and inferior sagittal sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus unites with the great cerebral vein to form straight sinus, and then there is occipital sinus. The superior sagittal sinus turns to the right as right transverse sinus. The straight sinus turns to the left as left transverse. Transverse on both the sides continues as sigmoid. Sigmoid continues as internal jugular vein, which passes through the jugular foramen. Also passing through the jugular foramen is inferior petrosal sinus and 9, 10, 11 cranial. So the unpaired ones are superior sagittal, inferior sagittal, straight occipital sinus, anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus, and basilar plexus of brain. Then we started studying the paired sinuses. We said there are two cavernous sinuses on each side, and through the superior petrosal they are connected with transverse. So the superior petrosal is also paired. Through inferior petrosal it is connected with the internal jugular vein. Then we studied the diagram. This is jugular foramen, the green one. Internal jugular vein is posterior. Inferior petrosal sinus is anterior. It is draining into internal jugular vein, and 9, 10, 11 nerve are lying in between. Then we listed the paired sinuses: cavernous sinus, superior petrosal, not superior sagittal, superior petrosal, inferior petrosal, transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus, sphenoparietal sinus, petrosquamous sinus, and middle meningeal vein. So next class I'll be talking about uh, more about cavernous sinus in detail, but in general orientation of all these sinuses is very much necessary for all of you. The names of all of these sinus. Okay. Uh, as regards the applied anatomy of the cerebral dura mater is concerned, okay, that it is the I'll just list out the pain sensitive intracranial structures, and these are the large venous sinuses. Okay, the dural arteries, the dural floor. Okay. Now, what is this? We normally say, "I am getting a headache." What is headache? Its headache is caused by dilatation of intracranial arteries. Okay, and even dilatation of extracranial arteries. It can be caused by distension of these intracranial pain sensitive structures. It can be due to infection, inflammation, anything. So therefore, we should be knowing what are the pain sensitive structures. So these pain sensitive structures, when they are stretched, it can cause headache. So this large cranial venous sinuses, this is a pain sensitive structure. Then the dural arteries. Okay. Then the dural floor. Mainly of the anterior and the posterior cranial. Then arteries at the base of the brain. So these are all pain sensitive structures. So when we talk about headache can be caused by stretching of any of these pain sensitive structures. So stretching of these structures can cause headache. Now headache can also be caused. The headache can also be caused by dilatation. Now dilatation of what? I in I would say extracranial arteries first. Extracranial arteries first. Because don't always think about if you are getting a headache that my intracranial arteries are dilated. That first think of extracranial, like superficial temporal. Okay. So most of the times we get headache because the dilatation of the extracranial artery. Then dilatation of intracranial artery. Then stretching of these structures, pain sensitive structures. What are the the dural venous sinuses, dural floor of the anterior and the posterior cranial fossa, the dural arteries. So this is one thing is headache. Now another thing you have to understand that there are two types of hemorrhages seen, extradural hemorrhage and subdural hemorrhage. So in the extradural hemorrhage, we don't find any blood in the CSF. Okay, but it is mainly seen in the subdural hemorrhage. So subdural will be below the dura and extradural will be beyond the dura. So it will be lying between the dura and the bone. So in case of subdural hemorrhages and all, we have to make a burr hole, in the skull many times and drain the hematoma because otherwise it will cause pressure on the. Okay. So that's all about the meninges, the dural. I have not talked about many all the meninges. I mainly spoke about the dura mater, which has two layers. One, the endosteal layer, and two, the meningeal layer. And we spoke about how it encloses the venous sinuses. And these venous sinuses can get thrombosed. That is the most important anatomy. This can get thrombosed. Okay. So thrombosis can affect the venous drainage of the brain. It can cause also infection in the brain. So these dural venous sinuses are connected to the scalp also through the emissary veins. So very, very important structures as far as neurology, neurosurgery is concerned, the dural venous sinuses. A very important topic. We need to know its anatomy because it is training the brain. Thank you.